Many of you guys have probably gotten a deadline email from me in the past, and here's the story behind it. When someone says to me they need something, remember that person says, I need something on Thursday? I write them an email back. It's in High Performance Habits, the actual email. So steal it and use it. But it says something, I don't remember the exact word, but it says something to the effect of this. Thank you for letting me know that you would like this on Thursday. May I ask you a question? Could you tell me the date and time in which, if you don't receive this, homes burn down, people die, reputation is ruined, irreparable, forever, and catastrophic events ensue? I want the last minute, if you don't get it then, everything falls apart moment. Anything before that moment is your preference, and I have to be honest with you. Hundreds of other preferences have come in before your last minute request here. So I have to be responsible and choose from all these other preferences and identify the real priorities and the real deadlines. So can you tell me the date and the time in which it is really due, the real deadline, and explain to me why that is the date for the real deadline? And then from there, I'll be able to appropriately prioritize and serve you with excellence. Thanks, Brendan. I send that 100 times a week. It's just like an FAQ. I pop, 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 pop. And you know what? The person said, Thursday, oh, you know what, Brendan? The first of the month is fine. I'm like, that's 4 weeks away. Most people's deadlines are preferences, not deadlines. Most people's real need is BS. It's not a real need. That's their preference.
Hey, so if I or anyone else directed you to come watch this video, it was probably for the first minute and 30 seconds. But it could have been for this next part. If it was for the beginning, don't take it personally. I, or whoever sent you this video, probably actually really want to help you, spend time with you, whatever it might be. And we're probably not saying no either, otherwise we would have just said no. But I, or whoever sent this to you, are, or is, or am probably spreading myself quite thin. Trying to do too many projects at once, taking on too many things, being a little bit overambitious, or actually we might actually have tight schedules. I personally don't. Either way, don't take this personally. I, or whoever sent this to you, probably just didn't believe you when you said you need this tomorrow but the event is actually 2 months away. However, if you're the person that triggered me to make this video, feel free to take it a little bit personally, but please still love me because you're by no means the first person to do this, and I know you're strong, you won't be insulted by it, and hopefully you'll still love me afterwards. And you actually probably might personally be able to use this video yourself soon. Okay, so if you were sent here for this next part, there's a few things I want to say first.
Here's the Earth. Chilling. Damn, that is a sweet Earth, you might say. Wrong. Alright.
First off, the content that you're about to listen to is extracted from the world's leading high-performance coach, 3-time New York Times best-selling author, one of the most watched, quoted, and followed personal development trainers in history. New York Times best-selling author, 10 million followers, blah blah blah, founder of High Performance Academy. Alright, so he's a guy, and he's pretty cool. He owns the domain BREDON.com. That's kind of when you know. When you own the website that's your name, like, it kind of takes a little bit. He also has a new book, podcast, and a YouTube channel, all linked in the description below. So check him out if you are interested in him, like what he has to say, or have the time. All the material that you're hearing is from a video of his that I found called How to Choose Your Priorities. I actually found it on a podcast first. Here's a little thing that you can use to go to the actual video. The actual video is a 14-minute video or something. I've chopped this up quite a bit just to show you the parts of it that I liked and to keep it concise. Truth be told, I already know some of you guys don't like this guy or this type of material in general. That's kind of the reason I cut a lot of it up, is to present it in the way I wanted to. The real video especially came off as like he thought himself to be all that, and as if he's telling you to like become a selfish and considerate jerk and ignore all of the people that actually want your help. Not entirely, but a little bit. So, I mean, look, if you have something due Thursday, and it's Tuesday, I will actually try my best to help you out. But he's saying not to sometimes. I mean, look, if someone has something due on Thursday and it's Tuesday, I'm probably actually really likely to help them. I'm not trying to be an asshole out here. So I think this is intended more for people that have super intense schedules and have a bunch of people hitting them up for things, which I currently don't yet. But what I do have is a bunch of projects that I'm trying to work on, so I don't know, I guess it's kind of the same. But yeah, this can be applicable to you and for your life too, especially this next part, So grab the good from it. The main thing to remember here is this is still good advice, at least for me, because I don't know about you guys, but I very often allow other people's priorities and events and different things to slide into my DMs and just take over my schedule, and all of a sudden I come home and it's like, shoot, I haven't done any of my work, or now I'm behind, that kind of thing. But when I do value myself, my schedule, my stuff more highly, and give myself more of a priority, I'm actually better able to help other people, and I think that's where he's coming from with this. You know what they say, put on your own life vest first. Sometimes though, it actually makes me feel better to help people at my own loss and suffering, so it's kind of great. Okay, back to the real thing. Before I show you guys the rest of it, well, the chopped up rest of it, I want to counterbalance it with a few different perspectives that I've been considering recently. Technology, these things. It's given us the ability to fit so much into our days, to always be on, to never be off, and raise the expectation for what we can become. Along with that raise has come a rise in pressure. Mass media encourages us, value your time. Time is money. You don't give out your money so easily, so why do you give out your time so freely? So before Brendan puts on the pressure for you to conform that way, I want to counter it. Most of us are likely to die and become irrelevant specks of dust. Parents, managers, people that want you to be successful would love to suggest to you that your homework, your GPA, your job, securing an esteemed position, a high salary, living a productive life, all these shoulds, all these things that they want you to do are so important, and that you ought to treat your time as if it's so important. Sometimes people will say, don't give too much of your time to other things that are not as important, because your time is so valuable, and your own life will suffer. And they're right, to many degrees. But recently, I've been exploring some fun new perspectives. I've been trying to constantly put myself down in position, in my place. Telling myself, you're not important, you don't matter, you really ain't shit. Your time is not really worth as much as, it's not really as important as you've been led to believe. Society is wrong, blah blah blah. You might say, vision, such self-talk, much negative. But I can handle it, and I actually believe it to be good for me. Because I still really don't believe it when I tell myself those things 100%. And what's actually hardwired in me really does need to be fought against sometimes. I basically just do it to keep myself grounded. Most of what I actually believe now is pretty gray, and that's one of my issues with my previous content, is that it's so preachy sometimes, and it's like, nothing is really true, especially for everyone. Things are great, and I actually currently kind of believe that not believing is the best thing to believe, because you have the black and the white, and everything in the middle is really where I find the truth. That's the gray. So, before I play the rest of this black podcast, if you have the internal fortitude to hear it, here's some white. I think it'll be good for you. You're not that important. You don't really matter. Your goals don't really matter. Your time is not that important. Your grades, that exam, that project, that job, almost everything that you care about, your biceps, your perfect body, your six-pack is not that important. And definitely not more important than anyone else's thing. Whatever you think about as being successful is probably unimportant. This video is unimportant. Doing the right thing is important. More important than that successful career that you're aspiring for. But you're doing okay. You're doing fine. You're doing just fine. So don't feel any pressure. Don't hate yourself. And don't let yourself feel like there's a rush to have important priorities, to become something other than what you are today. You're fine just as you are. You're great, so just chill. Don't allow these high performance coaches to actually get into your mind, because most people are actually too stressed and have too many priorities. Anyway, that was fun. Nice reminders, false as they might be. So now that you hate me, here's the rest of this podcast, which is actually a video.
See, I told you before, because I have that deep need to serve everybody, it's easy for me to say yes to everything. No feels great. Everyone say, no. Feels so good. Both of them, yes feels great, no feels great in my life. I have no problem giving you a yes, I have no problem giving you a no, because I got clarity on my priorities. Here's how I choose a priority, and this is important.
Is not that important.
The first thing I say, Brendan, how do you choose your priorities? First question, I go, is it planned? I don't let someone else's false emergency become my priority. Ooh. I'm sorry you're scrambling last minute to make this happen, but your inability to plan is not my emergency. People send me requests, I mean, literally, and great friends too, amazing people. And who said, Brendan, could you endorse this book? Could you do this? Could you help out with this project? Could you donate here? Could you lead us here? And they'll be like, hey, I really need it on Thursday or something like that. And I'm like, wait a second, it's Tuesday. Number two, do you own this issue? I love this one. I ask that all the time. Do I own this?
I own you.
Right? If someone walks up to me with a big platter of crap and says, here you go, Brendan, you deal with it. I go, I don't own that big stinking pile of crap.
Patrick, drop the wallet.
Now, what would you do?
Excuse me, sir, but I do believe you've dropped your wallet.
Doesn't look familiar to me.
What?
I remember the Dalai Lama said, they asked him, how do you deal with when someone comes up to you and they're angry and they're mean and they're judgmental? He says, oh, I refuse to accept that gift.
I'm like my presence is his gift.
Next, do you feel it's right? You need to listen to yourself. Your intuition, if you're above 25 years of age and you're in this room, your intuition is much more developed than you know it is. How many of you ever went on a date with someone you knew it was the wrong person? That many? Dang, I wish I was at the bar with your bad decisions tonight. You probably know if it's right or not. And you need to listen to that. Don't always argue with your intuition. I debate my intuition all the time. My intuition says, don't do this. I say, okay, Brendan, make the case for doing it. And I'll try. I'll try to win the argument. And that helps me follow my right path. Because how many of you ever took a wrong turn and you knew it was the wrong turn? Right? Oh, by the way, I don't mean in a car, I mean in life. You know more things than you give yourself credit. There's wisdom in you. Listen to that wisdom in you much more often. And if you're really struggling, let me give you this tool. It's a book, How Good People Make Tough Decisions by Rushworth Kidder. He says that it's difficult to choose sometimes between two things that are both right. The easy decisions of life are right and wrong. The tough decisions of life are right and right. Next, is there a real need now? Need versus preference. You learning to identify that will change your life forever. Next, is this a passion? Do I care about this? If this isn't a passion, if it gets a low score, it's rare that I'll do it. It's not going to be a priority if I don't care about it. Next, will this help you grow? Is there personal development in this? When I'm choosing priorities, if I can't see growth in it, it's not a priority, right? It's a nice to have, it's a preference, it's not a must. And then last, will this help you lead? I think so many people don't realize the extraordinary power they could have in other people's lives. They discredited themselves, they didn't try, they got disappointed, and so they just stopped. And I think that we all have the opportunity to be leaders. And if that is true, then we also have the responsibility to use our influence with the most impact we can. Isn't it incumbent upon you to make sure that your time is well spent on the things that we mention here? Because if it's not, I don't just think that you're cheating your potential, I think you're cheating a tremendous service to the world that you could offer. People say, Brendan, you're so serious about your schedule. I go, yeah, because you know what? What's the alternative up here? I mean, really, what's the alternative? That we're all going around doing a bunch of things that weren't planned, so we're reactive, that it's not even on our responsibility, so we're carrying everybody else. It doesn't feel right to our heart and our soul, that there's no reason to do it. There's no real need now, that we don't care about it. It doesn't help us grow, and it doesn't serve others. That is not a life. If you score ones on any of these things and anything that someone dished up to you, it should be the most confident, roaring no of all time. And that's why I developed this tool. It's just a rationalization tool to say yes and know why, right? Now you might have other categories that I forgot. So you might put them up there, right? They might be like, hey, does this serve my family? Does this help my finances? I don't know what your scorecard should be, but you need to know what it is. Because if you don't have a scorecard for your priorities, the potential projects, the potential opportunities, you end up saying yes to too many things. And remember, it's not that you might not achieve your goals, it's just that you might have achieved the things that don't matter. Not every mountain is worth the climb. So we have to make sure we choose the things that are right for us. Not busy work, life's work.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my new podcast, The Brendan Show. Make sure you grab my book, High Performance Habits, How Extraordinary People Become That Way. And finally, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you get notifications every time I release a new video. And by subscribing, you support me, my message, and this channel. So I'd really appreciate it. Make sure you hit subscribe.
And definitely not as